My process is to immerse myself in the world that I'm building. You'll never stop becoming a student, but it's not a bad thing. The more you learn about what you're doing, the better you'll be at getting into the details. I'm Ruth Carter. I've been a costume designer for over 35 years, believe it or not. I was the first African-American costume designer to win the Oscar. I'm going to attempt to break down my process. Process is so unique to you. It is very important to you achieving the end result. Part of the process is being a part of the world and connecting with people. You never know where your inspiration is going to come from. It's important to be connected to your community. It can inspire you, and you don't know who you're going to meet, who's going to answer maybe a dilemma that you might have. And as you get better at your craft, you're going to attract all of the people who are like-minded. The first time I met Spike Lee, I was doing dance costumes in a small dance studio in South Central LA, and he was giving me advice about how to get into film. And he wasn't the big Spike Lee that we know today. He was just a young filmmaker. And I was a theater person, I was a thespian. And before long, we formed a film family. We did 17 films together. So there's our community that we started just from that little dance studio in South Central LA. Spike called me and he said, Ruth, we're gonna do the story of Malcolm X based on the Alex Haley book. And I remember just taking a real deep dive into the research, and I knew that he had been incarcerated in Massachusetts. So I did this letter writing campaign to the Department of Corrections, and I asked to see Malcolm X's files, and boom, handwritten letters, booking photos, health records, everything you could imagine. Opening those files and reading his letters and looking at his penmanship, hearing his voice, I felt like I could make decisions about what he would wear based on what I'd read in his own words. Afrofuture is the immersion of art, culture, and technology, imagining a future for the African diaspora. In many ways, Spike's leadership in bringing us to this story of Malcolm X was a form of Afrofuture. All of the films of Spike Lee and Robert Townsend and the filmmakers that I groomed my career in the beginning years with, they all had a vision for the future, bringing truth to the camera. So part of my process is the research. When you finally get your actor into the room, you'll have collected so many things that inspire you about the story, and you'll be able to collaborate and bring together this character. You know, I've had actors say to me when they come to their first fitting, it's like their first rehearsal. It's a magical place when you're in a fitting with an actor and they connect to their costume. It actually is a transformation that happens right then. And for me, it opens up a whole world of ideas for that one character or that one person that they're portraying. I think everyone has a source within them that ignites the creative spark that pushes you to keep going. Your path is your own, and you have to decide, what is that spark in me? What is pushing me to get all the way to the end? Your inner strength and your fortitude is much bigger than the applause. I want you to go to your workbooks and think of the sentence that describes your character, and we'll come back to it. Afrofuture is the immersion of art, culture, and technology. Spike Lee is Afrofuture. Ava DuVernay is Afrofuture. Standing on their sets, I was witnessing them imagining a future for ourselves and for our community and the African diaspora. Imagination is something that's ever present and ongoing. Something that you embrace. You have to constantly feed and nurture your imagination. I look at things, I go out and explore, I look at nature. It could come from anywhere. We're going to discover how you use your imagination to create costumes. Imagination is a tool. It actually does help you envision the road that you're going to travel on to get your costume to fruition. It comes with some knowledge of certain aspects like fabrics, texture, pattern, color, body type, and skin tone. And a lot of that is things that you learn on your journey. You're going to be able to imagine in detail when you want a certain texture to be a part of this costume design that you have in mind. Is it the texture of a samurai warrior? Or is it the smoothness of silk and satin? Is it the texture of leather or beads? We imagine things in one way, and then when we see them in real life, they actually don't have the texture that we imagined, and we have to take it a step further and create layers in order to get that thing out of your mind and on the costume. So, how do you work with your imagination? Tear images out of magazines. Create a Pinterest board. Start collecting the things that you're imagining could be possibilities. In Black Panther, one of the ways that Afrofuture can inspire imagination, can inspire ideas, is with the Dora Milaje costume. There's scarification. There's beadwork that has symbolism. There is a harness that travels around that costume and honors the female form. Afrofuture can be a way of imagining how we can see things differently and look to the future for better ideas and different ways of inspiring others to see a different point of view. Okay. I want you to go to your workbooks. Start creating your costume. But within that creation, I want you to start bringing in other forms of beauty, not typically viewed as such, and retrain your viewer to see things differently with this sketch. We collaborate on many levels, some big and some small, but collaboration is what helps you to grow as a costume designer. I'm going to teach you a few ways of being a good collaborator by teaching you some tips to problem solving. First, accept no as an answer. Sometimes we have to accept that some of our ideas are not going to be welcomed with open arms. When we were making Black Panther, I imported 150 blankets from South Africa. We wanted to use them as shields. So we created a side of that blanket that had vibranium, which means we screen printed this silver material in the form of symbols and Wakandan language on one side that would make this blanket impenetrable. But the studio felt the blankets were a little stiff, a little heavy. We thought maybe we could solve this problem by shaving the blankets. We shaved the pile down so that they were a little more supple and they would move correctly. After we showed the studio, we've created a solution. They approved the use of blankets. There is a pathway to either pivoting away from it or actually working with the problem and finding a solution to it. In the filmmaking process, there's several collaborators. You do have many aspects that will bring that costume to life. There's the makeup department, hair department, visual effects. Collaboration is really a big part of the costume designer's journey. Each collaborator, whether it's the director or the actor or the DP or the production designer, all of these collaborators will have a voice of some kind, and it's really important to be able to hear their voice. You can't really do that big work that we do in Marvel films without several people bringing ideas to the table. There is a coming together that's constant, but that's the excitement about the filmmaking process. It's not one person on one island alone. It's fellow collaborators that have a goal that is similar to yours. You're all trying to make this one story come to life, and you do it together. You do need to stay open and accepting of other ideas, keeping your mind and your eye sharp, and actually listen. Because sometimes someone else will see your idea and have some thoughts about it that will help you take it to the next level. The idea belongs to everyone. So as you go through the storytelling process, you want to grow, you want to expand your knowledge, you want to expand your creative way of looking at things and thinking about things. Another way of being a good collaborator is to be more articulate about your ideas. You really do have to describe them almost as if you're talking to a 3-year-old. You want people to embody the idea. You want the actor to be excited about your sketch or your plan. So collaborating is communicating, it's listening, it's being a part of a bigger picture. So I want you to go to your workbooks. Think about your collaborators. Who are they? Is it the person who's actually going to build this costume for you? Is it the local place that you'll go to get your materials and you're going to talk to them about what would be the best materials to make this come to life? I think the collaborators that you will discover with your idea will bring your sketch or your costume design to another higher level. We're going to talk about innovating and making characters go through different changes, but still staying consistent. With Lupita Nyong'o, who played Nakia in Black Panther, we had to create a new costume for her because she played so many multiple characters within this one character, Nakia. She was a war dog. She was undercover as a Nigerian captive. She was a girlfriend and a princess. We knew that the color green was the color for the River Tribe. So all of her costumes in Black Panther are green. We gave her the green color as her through line. A through line is that consistent thing that they carry with them that defines their character. Sometimes you get to one place and it feels good, but once you live with it for a while and look at it every day, you realize it actually does need a second layer to get the job done. Innovative ways of showing character. You usually create a costume and the first layer of that costume is the base layer. It usually is lacking story. Things that come off the sewing machine or right out of the store don't have the layers that they need to show what it would look like if a person actually wore it. So we need to do another pass, whether that's aging the collar, or maybe it's over-dyeing your costume so it has a patina or it has a pink coloring to it. So it tells a little bit more of the story of that person. When I designed the movie Amistad, it was about Africans who sailed around the eastern seaboard after they took over the slave ship, and they were trying to steer that ship back to Africa. What was it like for them on that ship? So what I decided to do was look at the cargo list. What was that ship carrying? That told me what kinds of things that these Africans had done to survive. So we knew that Africans on the transatlantic slave trade were basically stripped down to very little, nothing at all. And the cargo list said that they were carrying blankets, fabrics, leather. They were carrying cotton to bring to the New World. So I decided to wrap their heads in some of the cottons because they were coming from a Muslim country. Then I decided to take the blankets and wrap their bodies in them. And we made shoes. We cut the leather so that they could wrap their feet because it was cold in the eastern seaboard. And as they were marooned, we just added another layer of aging and distressing to these wraps that they adorn themselves with. So you have to be innovative and think about, what in reality could help you tell this story. And for me, it was the cargo list. One of the wonderful opportunities that we had in Black Panther was to bring forth traditional garb and reimagine it for the characters in an Afrofuturistic or advanced technology. The Dinka corset was one of them. This is an original Dinka corset, and they're worn by cattle herders, and they're worn by men. The other piece is this headdress that's worn by the mining tribe elder. And this piece actually came from another film that I did called Roots Reboot. And the Fulani women are wearing these amber crowns. And we put it on the head of the mining tribe elder, and it looked like it was just perfectly made for her. So a lot of times you will collect things, you will have things that you hold near and dear to your heart, and they find themselves having another life in a film or a project, and this was mine. With costume design, you never stop innovating. You always have to think about different scenarios for your character. So I want you to open up your workbooks and look at your character and think of them in different scenarios. Maybe they're a spy. Maybe they're an adventurer and a traveler. Maybe they're just going to a party. But keep the character consistent in each one of those scenes and give them a different look. I'm really happy that we had a chance to review all the aspects of preparing you to create a costume design, from research to character development to collaboration. Now you can go forth and find your characters out in the world and build these beautiful costumes.